He's got the number now.
He's now the all-time sack leader.
This NFL draft segment on SicEm365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac at the Imperial exit off Loop 340 in Waco.
We heard from Matt Rule to start the show. We'll hear from Denzel Mims in an hour. Also, Sam Tecklenburg, the old man coming out of retirement, it appears. He'll join us in the next segment. Right now, joined by Minnesota defensive lineman and former Baylor All-American James Lynch. Have you gotten used to that, James? Thanks for being on the show, the Minnesota Vikings defensive lineman.
Thank you guys for having me, of course. It is kind of weird hearing that. It's still awesome, a good feeling. I haven't gotten used to it, so I kind of like when people say it, obviously. It's nice to hear.
Well, there's no question that when you went and finally there was the pick of James Lynch, first thing I thought about Minnesota Vikings was Mike Zimmer and the defense that he loves to play. What was your reaction other than being happy you're drafted about the possibility of being hooked into his defense?
Yeah, I had a formal meeting with them at the Combine, and I told my agent right after I met with them that I kind of fell in love with them and just their organization and the way they did things. And I've watched them the last few years, obviously, and seen how their defense plays and just their team. So, obviously, being able to be a part of that organization is going to be an awesome feeling, and I can't wait to get up there.
Is it pretty cool also? You've got Blake Lynch is there. I think Greg Roberts is still there, right, Craig? And you've got some familiar faces when you move up there.
Yeah, they picked up Harrison Hand as well, and because I played with them my freshman year, and they have a tackle, Ezra Cleveland. I know him pretty well. I worked out with him, so I know a couple guys, which is really nice. And it'll be nice to just kind of meet the whole team as well and just kind of get used to everything up there.
James, what has the last couple of days been like? Take us into into the shoes, I should say, of a player who's been freshly drafted, especially during this very unorthodox time. What has kind of been your routine? What have you had to do? Who have you had to talk to? That kind of jazz since getting that phone call.
Yeah, so I've just been obviously just kind of came with some of the players and talking to coaches and just kind of setting up all the stuff that I need to make sure I got, because right now we'll start virtual meetings soon, and making sure I got the right stuff, my iPad set up and all that kind of stuff. So it's not much that's happened so far, just kind of staying in my same routine where I'm in Waco just working out and making sure I'm in shape, and then making sure I'm ready for meetings when they start up and just being ready to help the team win.
All right. Now, I don't know. I didn't see that. I read a lot of articles about what the Vikings and what Chris Spielman or Mike Zimmer or others said about you. Was it true, or is it true that Spielman said that you're a bowling ball of butcher knives? Is that right?
I have not heard that. I did not know that was said, but I take that as a compliment. Obviously, he meant that in a good way, so I find that kind of funny. I like that. But I have not heard that personally. No, I did not hear that.
All right. You are stepping into a franchise, defensive line-wise, that's got a history. I mean, it's one of the few that has a name for a defensive line back in the 70s and the Purple People Eaters, where you have to go back and take a history lesson and learn about guys like Alan Page and Jim Marshall and guys like that?
Oh, of course. I mean, at the Combine, I was lucky enough to have my mentor be John Randall, and I talked to him a little bit today, actually, over Instagram. We're just kind of communicating, and I told him it's an honor to be able to be a part of such an organization, and with the people they have, that means so much to this game that I can learn so much, and not just benefit myself, but also learn the game itself and just learn the history of this great game. And like you said, it's just going to be a cool experience to be able to do that.
So, James, where were you when you were watching the draft, and when you finally get that phone call? I imagine it's a big sense of relief and also one of excitement, but I'd imagine it's also very fun to tell your family what's going on. So just what was kind of the Lynch family's reaction to how that all unfolded for you on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of people know my mom as being the loud woman at the stadium. So once my name was called on the TV, she was freaking out. My whole family's there. I was back in Round Rock, and I mean, for myself, I was just so excited. My hand was shaking on the phone. I couldn't really hold still. So obviously I was I was going kind of crazy. I was trying to stay calm while I was on the phone, but as soon as they hung up, hugging all my family and just experiencing that moment with the people that kind of got me to where I am. I mean, you can't really explain it. And I'm so blessed that I was able to have the opportunity.
How difficult was it to wait until Saturday for the call?
I wouldn't say it was difficult. I was just kind of waiting for my moment. And luckily, I got picked by a team that I was really excited to play for, and I can't really wait to get up there. So waiting wasn't a big deal for me. I was with my family, and I've been through things with them. So when Minnesota called, I couldn't have been any happier.
Does your mom know how to scream? Skull? Has she already learned all that?
Yeah, they watched some of the videos and stuff while I was up there I was talking to some of the coaches, and I came back downstairs. They're all saying the Skull chant, stuff like that. So it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
What does it mean to your group of guys at Baylor that 14 of you are now assigned or drafted to NFL teams?
It's unreal. I've talked to a lot of the guys, but I was talking to Clay specifically, and just saying like how I'm just so happy that all of them at least get a shot and they get to show that kind of who we are and how we play the game. And I know a lot of them. I hope all of them make teams because I know the way we play, and I know that once the coach sees them play, that they're going to fall in love with them. So just seeing all of them go so many different places, and I get to luckily play with Blake Lynch again is a great feeling, and I'm super happy about it.
Any surprise that Clay's already becoming a bit of a fan favorite based on his personality? The LA fans seeing his reaction to being drafted, did that come as any surprise to you?
Oh, not at all. I mean, I told every team Clay Johnson's the most diehard football player, selfless guy. So whenever he got that call, I saw the video. I mean, I kind of just not teared up, but like just seeing him in that reaction, it was so genuine. I mean, I love that guy. So seeing him have that moment with his family was awesome, obviously.
3 years ago, when Coach Rule arrived at Baylor, he was discussing how he wants to turn you guys obviously into better young men, but also better pros as far as the opportunity to play the game. You were a highly recruited player. Everyone knows that. Did you believe him 3 years ago when he said that could happen, where you'd have 14 guys in a camp or at least a part of an NFL roster after 1-11?
The way he talked to me, yeah, I did. And I would be lying if I didn't think it'd be hard to believe after you go 1-11, but the way we did things and the way they coached us and the way that he ran the organization that we had there and the way things were done. I mean, if you were in the locker room every day, you'd realize that after 3 years, it's pretty hard not to be where we are because of the way they did things. And I give a lot of credit to him and the whole staff as well, with the trainers and even the academics. I mean, we did things there that were run a lot better than anywhere else. So I was pretty blessed. All of us that were there were pretty blessed to have them come in and do the things that they did for us.
How much gasoline does it take to fill up your motor? Because it seems like it's never on empty.
Well, that's another thing I give a lot of credit to. Obviously, the way I was raised, but being with Coach Snow, he makes you realize that if you're not giving full effort on every play, like why would you be on the field? So just the way they taught us and the way they changed our mindset on how the game's supposed to be played and the way it should be played. So it's just trying to make a play for your team and playing with having fun with your team out there. So for me, it wasn't hard. It's just trying to play the game of football.
And you're going to a place, a franchise with incredibly passionate fans. They've been on the edge. They've been close and so close, and it's great that you're a part of that franchise, the Vikings.
James, I just got to warn you. I know that if you've been up there at all, it's probably not been when we were there. Smokey and I were there a couple years ago for the Super Bowl in February. Here's what I need you to do a couple times a week just to get yourself ready. I need you to walk into a walk-in freezer, a meat locker, a butcher shop, and I need you to just sit in there for like 20 minutes. Like just sit in there and take it in, because that's exactly what it feels. It's worse actually when you walk outside into that and you hear people say like, "Oh, it's not bad today. It's just -4."
Yeah, that's a little different than what I'm used to, but I'm excited about it. Just the whole new culture and just being up there in a new city, and I know it's beautiful, so I'm excited about it.
It's a very passionate base, no question about it. Craig, anything else? Hey, James, we've had you on, since the time you decided to leave. We had you on then, obviously up to what we thought was going to be some pro days did not work out, but we had you on then, and we've had you on now after the draft. It's been great. You're a fantastic role model for the players who are still at Baylor. Congratulations. Enjoy the ride, and we'll hopefully see you in a game sometime soon.
Thank you so much. Man,
that's a good young man right there. Zimmer and the Vikings are thrilled.
It's a great fit. It's a great fit.
And I did speak with one of the media relations guys, and they were like thrilled about James Lynch and already what they've had, just working with him for interviews already.